Good morning. My name is Sheila Thorne, and I'm a CalPERS member and a member of CFA, retired, and a member of FFCA. Exxon was caught on tape saying that a carbon tax was a great talking point that gives cover to Exxon because it would never happen, because it would take political courage. I know you are well aware of Exxon's long history of deceptions, starting 50 years ago when it lied about, when it knew that the impact of its product on the climate, and it lied about it. Because you have engaged with Exxon for almost 4 decades, they are assuming that you, like the rest of the world, will continue being their patsy, allowing yourselves to be manipulated. Do not have the political courage, as the Exxon official sneered. Will you have the political courage? You have that chance by exiting Exxon now.
Thank you. Next commenter.
Good morning. Thank you for taking our comments. My name is Dan Fuchs. I'm a CalPERS member, a member of CASE. I'm 59 and I've lived in California my entire adult life. In just that time, I've seen firsthand the effects of climate change that result from fossil fuels. There used to be tule fog. Do we remember tule fog? We've also seen wider swings in dry and rainy years, increasing wildfires. When I first started working for the state of California in 2007, the Moonlight Fire was a horrendous top 10 fire. Now it's disappeared in the list of fires because our wildfires are so enormous. This is all the result of climate change that results from the burning of fossil fuels, and it is unconscionable for CalPERS to continue to invest my money in perpetuating the destruction of my great state that I hope to retire in just a few years. Exxon in particular has been egregious, and divestment from Exxon in particular is urgent now to address the climate emergency. Thank you.
Thank you. Next commenter.
Good morning. My name is Megan Elsey. I'm a member of CalPERS, recently retired. It was almost a week of over 110 degrees in Sacramento this summer. My son suffers from mental illness and addiction, and he is currently homeless, and he has had to live in that heat now in this strange rain in September. In about the past 20 years, extreme weather has caused about $2.8 trillion in damages. That's trillion with a T. And all that is a result of greenhouse gases, a lot of which is from Exxon. Now, engagement doesn't work. You can engage with McDonald's to have them use a different kind of cup, but you can't engage with McDonald's to have them stop cooking burgers. So we need to disengage from Exxon, to exit Exxon, to protect my pension, others' pensions, and humanity. Thank you.
Thank you. Next 3 commenters will be Yvette DiCarlo, Linda Hayward, and Judith Small.
Hello, I'm Linda Hayward, resident of Sacramento, a beneficiary of my late husband's CalPERS pension. In my lifetime, I've seen what fossil fuels have done to our environment, and that's why I'm doing what I can to leave a livable planet to my grandchildren's grandchildren. I'm striving to be the ancestor that they deserve. There are 2 of many scary things I worry about that will affect everyone. One is a certain chaos and violence that will ensue when populations are dispersed by climate disasters, and there's competition for livable space. The other is our food supply. As a gardener, just this summer, I learned and experienced how excessive heat hinders food production. When there are too many extremely hot days, tomatoes, beans, and other foods don't pollinate and produce. How will we feed everyone? Let's be proactive and solve this before it's too late. Please end fossil fuel investments.
Thank you. Next commenter, please.
Good morning. My name's Yvette DiCarlo. I live in Sacramento, and I've been a CalPERS member since 1994. For 16 years, I worked for the California Air Resources Board, as well as the Air Quality Management District in the Bay Area. I'm the only pensioner in my family, so CalPERS is a critical part of our financial plan, and you'd think I'd want CalPERS to always maximize its net returns regardless of the source. But when it comes to fossil fuel investments, particularly Exxon, it's well past time to divest. As a society, we've been directly paying for Exxon's environmental messes for decades, and now we're experiencing their very costly externalities, such as skyrocketing premiums and home cancellations from home insurance, more and more communities having to rebuild based on being ravaged by wildfires and flooding, more travel disruptions. Coastal homeowners are now having to buy AC units that they didn't need 5 years ago. Rising temperatures are making my husband and I think about moving to an affordable place to avoid heat-related illnesses. Simply put, Exxon is a liability. You should put that on that side of the ledger, not just as an asset that you may have previously thought they were. There's a reason that California is suing big oil. Other states and entities are starting to win settlements and lawsuits, and the New York Times just ran an article about the surge of lawsuits against fossil fuel companies. Does the CalPERS Board really want to aid and abet these criminals? It's well past time to divest from Exxon, so please start with an immediate end to all new bond investments. Thank you.
Thank you. Next commenter, please.
Good morning. My name is Judith Small. I'm a retired high school teacher. I live in Berkeley, and I'm a participant in CalSTRS, not CalPERS, so like a cousin in the same family. I'm also the grandmother of 4 little girls, the oldest of whom is 7. My most fervent wish for Sibley and Layla, and for Layla's twin sisters, Aisha and Alima, is that when they come into adulthood, they'll be able to live in a world that bears some resemblance to the world I've come over 74 years to know and fiercely love. Yet my greatest fear for them is that in the next 10 years or so, this same world be slipping away, changed beyond recognition by the ravages of climate change, unchecked. Engagement was a worthy course, an important course to test and try. And you have tried. We know you have tried. God knows you've tried. But engagement isn't working, and time is running short. Time is running short for the members of CalPERS and for all the people of California, for all our children and for my children, for my 4 granddaughters. So I'm here to say to the board that it's time to stop trying and start leading. It is high time for CalPERS to exit Exxon. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Diana Cassidy, Gleo Saba, and Anushka Kalyan.
Good morning, members of the board and the staff. My name is Diana Cassidy. I lead Third Act Sacramento, which is a group of elders who are deeply concerned about climate change. And I'm here to urge you to exit Exxon. Exxon is a terrible company. We know that we've experienced the hottest summer ever. We thought that was true in 2023 and 2022, and yet probably next summer we'll break the record. And it's because of Exxon and its continued expansion of oil and gas fields that we're experiencing this terrible heat and wildfires. Even in 2021, the International Energy Agency said there should be no more new drilling. We had enough oil and we really needed to transition. Secondly, what company sues its shareholders? That behavior is absolutely outrageous, and it's shocking that we would tolerate that. And finally, I'm a retiree of the University of California system, and we divested our pension fund from oil and gas in 2020. And I believe that the CalPERS Board can do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Next commenter.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Gleo Saba. I'm a family physician, retired. I practiced 30 years in Sacramento. And I'm here to, I also belong to Third Act Sacramento. We just had a discussion at our book club last night, and a friend said, what is it going to take for people to realize we are in a climate crisis? And let me just name a few things to help you. It's called the Amok Current, Atlantic Meridional Overturning Current, which is a Gulf Stream. It is possible that it could collapse by 2025. Stopping basically could affect every person on this planet if the GHG emissions continue in their current path. This is from Journal Nature. I can list a lot more, but I also want to list the fact that there is the precedent that CalPERS, around the time of divestment from South Africa, did so. And you might think, what could one organization, what could be the effect of it? Well, it's the ripple effect that this powerful entity such as CalPERS could, by making that decision at this point, realizing that all of our children, all of species on this earth are at risk, that you could make the difference because you could be like the domino effect, the first domino, and once you set it off, the rest of the people will follow. So please consider your children, if no one else, and your grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you. Next commenter.
Hi everyone, my name is Anushka Kalyan and I'm a 17-year-old high school senior from Sacramento. And because it's a Monday morning, I should be in school right now, if you can't tell. And it has gotten to the point where the climate crisis has become an issue that is affecting us at such a deep level, where we have to skip school in order to really make a difference. So I grew up having hiked in the Northern California forests and things like that. And in the most recent years with California wildfires, I've really seen the difference that rampant climate change can have an effect on today's youth. And that's why I'm here today, to really make sure that my future is in the hands of all of you, and it's really important that we take our lives into account when making future decisions. So it is about the oil and gas industry, which is clearly been shown to have a detrimental impact on our economy and also the climate. Make sure to take the youth into account, not just because I'm here in this room, but because there are many other youth who aren't here who need to make their voices heard as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next three, and when I call, all three of you can come down and take a seat. Well, we can turn on the different microphones as you speak, so you don't have to wait. So Eileen Boughton, Sarah Thies, and Jonathan Karpf.
Do I hit the green button? Oh, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Eileen Boughton. I am an Indigenous woman. I am an officer of SCIU Local 1000, and I have a pension with CalPERS. I'm here to say I would like to CalPERS to divest from Exxon and to also divest from all fossil fuel. All this Exxon and fossil fuel impacts the indigenous communities all across Turtle Island. The damage it causes to Mother Earth and to our families around there also causes great harm and to bring about MMIW, which is the missing and murdered indigenous women and people. The work that is being done by these people when going into our lands is harmful and it needs to stop. So I would like to ask Exxon to stop. I would like to ask CalPERS to stop their investment in Exxon and in fossil fuel. Thank you.
Thank you. Next commenter, please.
Stay here. Well, my name is Sarah Thies. I am a satisfied CalPERS retiree and a member of Fossil Free California. And some of you have been hearing me up here for since 2019, so I thought today, instead of hearing from me, you could hear from the New York City Comptroller, the head of ESG, John Adler. And as you might know, 3 of New York City retirement systems completed a major divestment last year, just under $4 billion in publicly traded fossil fuel securities, both equities and fixed income. And now, starting last year, they've also included exclusion of upstream oil and gas private markets. So this is what Mr. Adler said. Quote, major fossil fuel exploration companies do not have a net zero plan, and so the stranded asset risk is very high. That's why we divested from them. Asking them to stop is like asking Starbucks to stop selling coffee. Oil is Exxon's business. They do not want to stop. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Karpf. I'm the chair of the Retired Faculty Committee of the Statewide California Faculty Association. I've been a member of CalPERS since 1990. Now I'm a retiree. So when you tried engagement by voting against the 12-member board of Exxon, it was all for naught, because it has been mentioned repeatedly, engagement has never will dissuade a corporation from doing its core function. Exxon is clearly a bad actor. We are living in a climate change world that is an existential crisis for all human beings, as well as all other living things. I respectfully ask you to divest from Exxon and to shift the proceeds from that sale to either sustainable energy production or some other non-oil producing, non-fossil fuel stock. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next three commenters are Natisha Booker, Danielle Rowland, and Elrica Eratanan.
Good morning. My name is Natisha from UC Davis, and I am representing ASME Local 3299. As a public sector union member, I rely on my retirement security after years of hard work. But I'm worried about our investments in public sector retirement programs, especially our state, in companies like Exxon. Exxon has a history of environmental damage and harmful practice, posing a risk to our retirement. They're still drilling, expanding fossil fuels, and hindering progress of renewable energies. It's not right for our retirement funds to be tied to a company that jeopardizes our planet's health. We need CalPERS to divest from Exxon and prioritize our future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next commenter.
Good morning, I'm Elrica, and I'm a proud member of ASME Local 3299 and work at UC Davis. As a public sector worker, I'm worried about CalPERS investment, especially its engagement with Exxon. Their impact on our community, the environment, and retirement security is concerning. Climate change, like wildfire and rising temperature, is linked to the oil and gas project Exxon supports. Despite claim that engagement will make a difference, Exxon is not changing. They are still drilling and hindering renewable energy projects, putting our community and the planet at risk. Their action jeopardizes our public retirement security. We need CalPERS to prioritize a future that safeguards our environment and retirement security. Thank you.
Thank you. Next commenter, please.
Hi, my name is Danielle Rowland of Yuba City. I'm an active CalPERS member. I work at Department of Water Resources, speaking for myself, not them, of course, and I'm a member of professional engineers in California government. CalPERS must divest from Exxon. The burning of fossil fuels is the leading cause of global warming. Exxon may appear profitable on paper, but you need to take into account the following costs that CalPERS members have to pay because of Exxon. One is rebuilding houses that have been destroyed in wildfires and floods, heat-related illnesses and deaths, illnesses from poor air quality, and the emotional toll of paying for our retirement with our children's future. Because of Exxon, they will have to fight for food, water, and air. Last comment is, this is the hottest year on record, and it will be the coolest for the rest of our lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Next three commenters, Patricia Mendoza, Barbara Pinto, and Karina Vallacruz. Next commenter, please.
Good morning, board and members. My name is Krisha Vallacruz. I'm a climate finance organizer with Oil and Gas Action Network. I'm here today to urge CalPERS to take a lead in the growing national movement of divesting from fossil fuels. I'd like to gently remind the room that Exxon knew about climate change in the 60s, and instead of making a better choice about it, they doubled down on creating the concept of the carbon footprint and making a global climate crisis that they caused our individual problem by telling us to recycle and to compost. I'd like to add my voice to this chorus and my colleagues that and point out and paint a larger picture that CalPERS is not alone in facing this decision to exit Exxon. Across the country, other financial institutions like private equity, insurance, big banks, Wall Street are being held accountable for their complicity in the climate crisis and profiteering from its destabilization. For example, the Summer of Heat campaign in New York has been targeting Wall Street for its pouring of billions into new fossil fuel projects where our comrades, predominantly Black, brown, and indigenous folks, breathe poison air and drink polluted water. For months, these leaders from Louisiana and Texas have tried to schedule a meeting with Citibank executives to discuss the harmful impacts of their financing on Gulf communities. And in the last 100 days, the Summer of Heat campaign has taken 33 direct actions targeting outside of Citibank HQ, mobilizing 5,000 people, and resulting in 700 arrests of civil disobedience. This is just one side of the fossil fuel resistance. As a climate finance organizer, two things are clear for me. As long as there are investments in fossil fuels, people will remain relentless in holding financial institutions accountable for their role in the climate crisis. And second, the era of fossil fuels is on its way out. CalPERS is well positioned to make a bold and leader-led choice. Don't double down the way that Exxon did. Divest from Exxon now and stand with us on the right side of history. Thank you.
And opportunities of climate change covered in previous board meetings and on the website. This alone is critical for developing effective strategies and bringing other investors along. However, the sustainable finance market faces significant challenges with greenwashing, backsliding, poor modeling, and a significant ambition gap when it comes to corporate targets. This, of course, is not news to anyone on the board or on the staff, but in the spirit of accountability and the high standards this fund aspires to, I believe that the board, public, and peer institutions require more insight into the methods of the Solutions Fund and how it will overcome these challenges. Not just the why, but the how, what investments are included in the $47 billion or so already invested, criteria or standards are in place, and are those criteria science-based? There are many questions worth grappling with, and transparency stands to improve not only CalPERS performance, but to break ground for other investors. This fund will succeed in the face of systemic risks posed by climate change when others follow its lead. I applaud CalPERS for being at the forefront of new strategies to serve beneficiaries and protect the fund from climate risk, and I look forward to hearing more information. Thank you.
Thank you. Next commenter on the phone.
Next, we have Jason Disterhoff. Go ahead, Mr. Disterhoff.
Hi, thanks everyone for your time. My name is Jason Opena Disterhoff with Majority Action, an advocacy group focusing on risks to shareholder value, especially climate change and racial inequity, and proxy voting tools to mitigate those risks. We appreciate everyone who raised their voices today on Exxon. I wanted to offer a comment on a related issue, that is how the biggest asset managers voted on Exxon last May. CalPERS trustees and staff showed real leadership this year defending against Exxon's assault on corporate governance institutions that are vital to securing shareholder value. CalPERS' exempt solicitation and strong presence in the media were vital, and we also appreciated trustees in an individual capacity joining a letter to the largest asset managers calling on them to hold Exxon's board leadership accountable. CalPERS' work meant that the biggest asset managers faced a "which side are you on" moment on Exxon. This month, we'll see reports and analyses of how the biggest asset managers voted. But we already know from the vote numbers last May that most of the biggest asset managers took Exxon's side and voted for the full board, effectively endorsing Exxon's lawsuit. The Exxon vote was a clear example of how the biggest asset managers are undermining CalPERS beneficiaries' retirement security. We appreciate that CalPERS governance and sustainability principles, which guide the fund's proxy voting, recognize that CalPERS, quote, long-term investment horizon is both an advantage and a responsibility, and that responsibility requires that CalPERS advocate for policies that support the long term with investment managers, unquote. As we learn in the coming weeks how particular asset managers voted, we encourage CalPERS to take this opportunity to take a hard look at whether its managers stood on their side or on Exxon, and to strengthen its policies and practices for ensuring that its managers are aligned with CalPERS beneficiaries' interests. Thank you again for your leadership this year. And we look forward to CalPERS continuing to lead on these issues going forward.
Thank you. Next caller on the phone.
Next, we have Stephen Goldsmith. Go ahead, Mr. Goldsmith.
Steve Goldsmith from the Torrance Refinery Action Alliance and a CalPERS member. For more information about TRAA.website. I'm speaking but today as an individual resident that had Exxon Refinery right in our community. So this is about their behavior up close. I was even on the Exxon Community Advisory Board, so I've seen what they have to say. After a 1995 consent decree, Exxon continued to use large amounts of exceptionally deadly chemical called hydrofluoric acid, HF, with an ineffectual modifier, deceiving environmental justice burdened communities. In 1999, Exxon had a significant HF near miss, and in 2015, after an Exxon delayed proper maintenance resulted in a massive explosion, another near miss endangered over 800,000 people. This is a very deadly chemical. U.S. Chemical Safety Board and AQMD agreed and showed how Exxon disregarded community safety. Commercially proven, vastly safer alternatives exist, but Exxon rebuilt the refinery with HF, dumped it off to a relatively small company to deal with the enormous liability risk. Exxon continues to operate 2 other HF refineries in other states without the modifier. Is Exxon a good investment for CalPERS members? Their long track record in Southern California says no. To learn more about this danger of hydrofluoric acid, visit TRA.website.